Welcome to Golden Blue, everybody, home of the college football fan. And don't forget about the checklist. Hat check, sunglasses check, Pepsi check, nose check, sources check, and thick skin is a check. And don't forget to send gear to represent your team and yourself in my background. Send it to P.O. Box 360, Liberty, South Carolina, 29657, and get yourself a shout out. On to the next video. What is going on, everybody? This is going to be another Get It Gang video, and this is nothing but bad news for the Pac-12. It seems like things are just getting worse. By the way, if you don't know what the Get It Gang is, it's a name that I came up with for the group of people that leave video ideas in the comment section of my videos. So if you think you have a good video idea, leave it in the comment section and I just might use it. And on top of that, sometimes people leave a comment not intending it for it to be a video idea. And I like the comment so much that I still use it as a video idea. So just be aware of that when you're leaving a comment in the comment section. So the first comment I want to use is from Philport76. He says, just watched on the Monty show that SMU and San Diego State said not right now. What? To the Pac-12, and they also tried to get Gonzaga in as a basketball-only member, and were told no also. This makes a ton of sense when you think about it. Why would any team in their right mind want any part of the Pac-12 right now as it's on life support? Very good point right there. Also, don't we all think if these teams were going to be joining the Pac-12, they'd announce at this point? That's another good point. Pac-12 would be desperate for something positive in the press, yet we have only heard rumors. Best bet will be those 4 teams you had left in the Pac-12. Talk about Oregon State, Washington State, Cal, and Stanford. Go to the Mountain West, and maybe the Mountain West works out a deal to get the Pac-12 name and history. Well, the only thing that I would disagree on that is Cal and Stanford would never, ever join the Mountain West. They would rather go independent than join the Mountain West. But this is very concerning. And then I saw another comment from Wang saying, hearing that San Diego State has turned down the Pac-12 and said not interested in joining at this time. Wow. It must be really, really bad in the Pac-12 right now. That's hilarious. I don't actually think it's hilarious, but it is sad. It's very, very sad, the state of affairs in the Pac-12. And this kind of backs up what I've been seeing before all these comments, talking about our great conspiracy theorist, MacGyver. Remember back when he said, I can confirm that Tulane reached out to the Big 12 to gauge interest and inform the Big 12 that the Pac-12 is interested. So he was saying that the Pac-12 was interested in Tulane, but Tulane was telling the Big 12, hey, they're interested, but we'd rather go to the Big 12. Yeah, I don't think that the Big 12 would be interested in Tulane, but it falls into the category that I've been talking about. Teams are actually not wanting to join the Pac-12. I told you that Brent McMurphy went on an SMU YouTube channel talking about why George Clivecall visited SMU and went to a basketball game because a conference commissioner just doesn't do that. We've never had a president to where a conference commissioner did that. It's showing desperation. And even in that video, an SMU fan said, and by the way, the screen name of this commenter was pretty funny. It was CVVVVVVVC. 7 V's. Nicely done, sir. He said SMU should stay put in the AAC until the smoke clears with the Washington, Oregon, and Arizona schools. So even the group of 5 schools that the Pac-12 is trying to go out and get apparently are having second thoughts. And I heard that ESPN did have a deal on the table for the Pac-12, but they pulled it because Disney was making cuts. And so the deal that I heard, I don't know if this was the deal that was pulled or if this was the deal after the deal that was pulled, but I was hearing their tier 1 rights is going to go to Amazon for $100 million. That's $10 million per team per year. And then the second tier and third tier was going to go to ESPN, another $100 million. That's also $10 million per team per year. That's only $20 million per team per year. That is terrible. That is not good at all. And on top of that, ESPN said that they would buy $10 million worth of content per year from the Pac-12 network to offset the $50 million that the Pac-12 has to pay back to Comcast. So you can't really count that as part of the revenue deal because it's just offsetting the $50 million they have to pay back to Comcast. So basically, ESPN is giving them a little tip. That way they can pay off Comcast. And so it turns out to be $20 million per team per year. That's about the worst number you could have came up with. And that's not even guaranteed. Maybe that was the deal before it was pulled. It could be even less than that. So if this is true, if San Diego State is turning down the Pac-12, if SMU is turning down the Pac-12, if the Pac-12 was interested in Tulane and they're like, we don't know if we want to do that or not. And Fresno State, yesterday we heard that the Big 12 has been talking to Fresno State. I don't know if that's a bluff or it's for real because honestly, I don't think that Fresno State would be a good addition to the Big 12. But what I'm seeing is Brett Yormark making every decision possible to encourage the 3/4 of the Four Corner schools to come to the Big 12. So it doesn't matter if the Big 12 is serious about adding a Fresno State, a San Diego State, an SMU, a Tulane, or whoever else the Pac-12 is talking to. They're just trying to discourage teams from joining the Pac-12, and they're trying to encourage the 3/4 of the Four Corner schools, Arizona, Arizona State, Colorado, and Utah, to join the Big 12. This is absolute genius by Brett Yormark. The first genius move he did was he skipped the line and nailed down a TV deal before the Pac-12. Because remember, the deal for the Big 12 runs out a year after the deal for the Pac-12 runs out. What did he do? He skipped the line and he nailed down a deal because he knew one thing. He knew that there was room for only one decent deal left. And if the Pac-12 got that deal, then the Big 12 would be in a world of hurt right now. So he skipped the line, he nailed down the deal, and now the Pac-12 is in a world of hurt. And that TV deal is not a great deal. The TV deal that the Big 12 has, it's not great. But it's a TV deal. And it's way better than anything that the Pac-12 is looking at right now. So it was absolute genius. And those clauses in the contract that says if you add a Power 5 team, it only guarantees $20 million per team per year. Yeah, that's the bottom line. That's the baseline. That's only the guarantee. That brings the teams in. That guarantees them, hey, $20 million. But then on top of that, they'll get Fox back to the negotiating table and renegotiate the TV deal. And yes, it will work out and everybody will make just a little bit more money. I'm not saying a massive jump, but just a little bit more. Think about it. If that were the case, the Big 12 would never expand again because no team, no Power 5 team would ever join the Big 12 if they were just going to make $20 million per year. So don't confuse that and say no Power 5 team would ever join the Big 12 because they would only pay them $20 million per team. And even the rest of the teams would take a cut because they'd have to split their money as well. No, that's not how that works. That $20 million is just the guarantee. That's just to say, hey, you will make at least $20 million and then we'll renegotiate the TV deal. Same with the Group of 5 thing. No Group of 5 team is coming to the Big 12 going to Blue because they wouldn't bring any revenue whatsoever because of that clause. Not necessarily. The reason that clause was put in there was to encourage the Big 12 to go after Power 5 teams. That doesn't mean that there's zero Group of 5 brands out there that would add value to the Big 12 TV deal. I think Memphis would be a great addition for the Big 12. I've already done a video on that. But for the Pac-12, I think they're in serious trouble. And I think it's because Brett Yormark keeps making the best decision possible and has put the Pac-12 in a bad spot. It looks like Brett Yormark zeroed in on a target, and that was the Pac-12. He knew that the Big Ten and the SEC, they're good to go. You're not going to touch them. The ACC is locked into a terrible TV deal until 2036. So really, his only competition was the Pac-12. So every decision he is making is targeting the Pac-12. I know he came out and said, no, I don't have any issues with Pac-12. We're not really targeting the Pac-12, blah, 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 blah. That was a PR move. That was what he was supposed to say. What he's really doing is genius. So if it's true, San Diego State is turning down the Pac-12 and SMU turning down the Pac-12, the Pac-12 is definitely headed down the road of implosion. And even if these teams do stay and they agree to that TV deal, which is $20 million per team per year, which by the way, Washington is not happy that the Tier 1 rights are going to Amazon, or most of the Tier 1 rights are going to Amazon. They're not happy about that at all. But even if all those teams do sign that, you better believe those upper tier brands are going to want an unequal revenue share. So those lower brands like Oregon State, Washington State, Cal, maybe Arizona State, you guys could be looking at $15 million or even less, $12, $13 million per team per year, while the upper teams approach that $30 million mark that they want. So a lot of trouble going on in the Pac-12. And that very well could be the reason why these teams are saying, no thanks, Pac-12, because if we come in, you're just going to have to split the pie even more. And yes, it might be more than what we're making in the Mountain West right now, but it's just going to create a big splinter in the Pac-12 even more. Those upper brands are going to jump sooner rather than later. So they're just not wanting to jump on a sinking ship is what it looks like. Y'all let me know in the comment section. Number one, do you think it's true? Do you think San Diego State, SMU, and even Tulane have actually turned down the Pac-12 and say, no, we're not interested in joining the Pac-12 right now? Number two, do you agree with me that Brett Yormark has made these genius decisions targeting the Pac-12 and they're actually working? And number three, do you think his plan is going to pay off and the Four Corners come to the Big 12 sooner rather than later? And who knows, maybe he's actually targeting Washington and Oregon as well. You never know, guys. That's all I got for this show. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you on my next show.